passed by other players, and you lose your good standing, no? So it's a reasonable that why I decided to play solid. He has probably a tiny advantage, and you can play for two results. You try to to make pressure on the opponent, and but at the same time to be solid. In the future, black will try to react in the center by e5 or to create some pressure on the d4 pawn.
Yes, absolutely. So here black has a semi-open d file leading to the pawn, something they should try to target. With the pieces are, as you mentioned, with one of the pawns, c5 is a very typical um, way to attack the center, or e5 somewhere. Yeah, I saw sometimes game of a Polish player. I'm sure you are familiar with him, Bartosz Soczko, probably I hope
Okay.
also the
Yeah.
viewers are familiar with him. And he had a very similar position, though it was from the
Okay.
Caro-Kann with Queen D8, or Queen
Yes.
D6 even. But the structure is the same. There
The
is no
structure is
e-pawn,
definitely the
there
same.
is
Yes.
no d-pawn. And I really liked he somehow went simply h3, g4. It was not to attack the king. It was simply to get a space because then we are taking some squares from, for example, black's bishop. So black became very passive. There was queen to b3, rook c1, somewhere rook d1, and just getting d5. And actually, white was in such a control of the game. I remember it, even though I've seen it still, I think, as a junior player. So that was a long time ago. But I still remember it. And whenever I play similar structures, I remember of this game and I try to think, okay, could I use this plan here and even this h3 and g4? Of course, you have to be careful with pushing the pawns in front of your king. But Bartosz Soczka is a grandmaster of a huge
Yeah.
class, so he knew how to do it, not to create weaknesses for himself, but to simply limit opponents' possibilities. But yeah, queen b3 somewhere, bringing the bishop out, rooks bring into the c and d file. This is where we have the place, and pushing d5 could be a plan for white. So now question is a little bit,
Yeah.
who is gonna be
That's possible.
faster? Who is gonna be faster with their uh, plans in the center?
Of course, and I agree with you. And usually, white setup is a bishop on e3, on f4, a pawn on h3, rook on d1, and you need to decide which rook because you can settle your rooks on d1 and e1 or on c1
Mm-hmm.
and d1. And usually, as you said, the queen goes to b3, but there are also two options. One is to play a3 and threatening b4 and then queen b3,
Mm-hmm.
or the other option is playing immediately queen b3. Black